So I have no doubt you've already seen all of your favorite YouTubers cover off the ban list and give you their sort of reactions to it on instinct. What we're going to be doing today is slightly different. We're going to be going through the list card for card and actually talking about the competitive impact and the hits of the ban list in terms of what it's actually going to do for the game overall, and more importantly, and what I think is more importantly, what it's not going to do in terms of the decks that it doesn't impact, at least not directly. So it's going to be a very interesting conversation because there is a lot to talk about. This was a meaty ban list. It is huge. They hit so many cards and they unlimited some really interesting cards as well. Overall, I'm super pleased with this ban list. I think this plan was fantastic. There's a couple of things that maybe I'm not too happy about, but at the end of the day, I can see the logic behind and I know why they did it, so it is what it is. We're just going to get in, we're going to talk about each of the decks it impacts and go through and have an actual conversation. So let's start with that. And now, we're going to go through the forbidden cards first. The forbidden cards are the big no-no. This is where people are the least happy with the ban list, I think. Because they took some very interesting and drastic steps to limit a few decks in particular. Now, we'll go through the forbidden cards first of all. And number one is Chaos Ruler. Chaos Ruler is a huge card, banned in the TCG and everything. We knew it was going to come eventually. Again, we all knew Chaos Ruler was going to be banned. It's unfortunate that it is banned, in my opinion. I feel like it was able to produce very strong sort of rogue decks, especially in combination with punk cards and things. But I can see why it's banned because of its prevalence in Dragon Link, and more relevantly, I think the Telemint-based strategies and the mill-based strategies. I think Chaos Ruler enables a lot of things that we're not very happy about as well. So unfortunate, but it does have to go. It really does. Now, we're going to talk about Chaos Ruler in a wee bit more detail, but I do briefly want to mention that the White Dragon Wyvern Burster was also banned, and I'm putting these two in together because mostly I think these were an attempt to limit the Dragon Link deck. So this, what you're seeing on screen, this is a recent top cut finish of a Dragon Link deck. This is just card for card what they were playing, and you'll see now that a lot of the strategy has to be torn down because a lot of how this deck works operates on the basis of cohesion and the dragon cards. Now, without the White Dragon Wyvern Burster, we're of course losing 2 cards from the main deck. The problem with that is that we're also losing these 2 cards because the Black Dragon is no longer useful without the White Dragon, at least not in my opinion. So you're going to end up having to cut that as well, and that's a huge part of your core engine gone because Seyfried, a lot of Seyfried's utility was getting into that little chaos package. Now it does other things, like Seyfried's not a bad card and still has other uses in the deck, but a large chunk of its utility was grabbing those chaos cards. It also means your chaos space is significantly weaker. It doesn't start nearly as many combos as it used to. Now it's only grabbing you, what? Levianeer and Lebellion and things like that, which are good cards, don't get me wrong, but they're not combo starters. So it means that the very core sort of strategy of Dragon Link is going to have to be rewritten to an extent. I think people are going to continue to try doing what they've always done, but it's simply not going to work, certainly not nearly as well as it used to. And we're going to have to find a way to adapt Dragon Link to a new centralized core strategy in order to make sure the rest of the pieces still function. I don't think the deck's going to disappear. It's still going to be good. Will it be tier list worthy? I don't know. It's definitely not going to go anywhere below Rogue. It's still going to be a decent enough contender. Maybe when people find a new core sort of strategy for it to base itself around, it may even resurge in popularity. But I do see this deck struggling an awful lot, losing such a huge part of its core, just losing a part of its core, and then the rest of its core as a consequence becoming significantly weaker, right? Because without those cards, Chaos Space is weaker, right? But if you remove Chaos Space, then the Chaos Emperor and Levianeer get weaker, and Lebellion get weaker, and your Seyfried then is way weaker as well, and it's just, there's a lot going on, there really is with that hit. I think the Wyvern Burster hit was probably one of the most direct ways they could have attacked the Dragon Link strategy, and if they really wanted to shut it down, I think it was a good hit in terms of if your objective was to shut down Dragon Link. So I think Dragon Link has been very powerful for quite a long time now. So overall, I don't think the Wyvern Burster is the worst hit in the world. I know a lot of people aren't happy about it because it messes with a bunch of rogue strategies as well, but I definitely think that this was one of the most direct hits they could have taken towards this deck. That would have actually had competitive consequence that they could have taken. And of course, losing the Chaos Ruler isn't a massive deal to Dragon Link, I don't think. I think people are overestimating its impact on Dragon Link. This was like more of a fallback card and grabbing advantage and bringing itself back. It's good, don't get me wrong. But it's not like, the absence of Chaos Ruler is not really going to be felt. It's more so the other cards that we're now missing is going to be the big problem when it comes to Dragon Link. Now, the next Forbidden card, I can't really talk too much about the next Forbidden card without also addressing a massive amount of the limits. Massive amount of the limits, because they're all hitting the same deck, and that deck is Stun. Let me bring up a stun list here. Runic Stun has been absolutely gutted. So this is a current stun list. Ignore the extra deck. Runic Stun, Stun sort of mixture, whatever. It's the same shit. What are we losing out of this deck? Well, first of all, your Card of the Mace, gone. Card of the Mace is gone. Not allowed to play it anymore. You're losing one copy of Auto Duality. So again, 3 consistency cards automatically cut, right? 3 right away. You're losing 2 copies of Border. 2 copies, that's huge. Border needs to be banned. I hate that this card is even still legal. Someone in Konami looked at this card and thought, yeah, let's keep it around. It's limited to 1, which is great, don't get me wrong. But why is it legal, man? They also hit Runic Destruction to 1, which is a very interesting hit there. I wasn't expecting that. And Tikaboo has been hit to 1. This also impacts Vanquish Soul, but not really. It's a nice card in Vanquish Soul, but it's more so a hit towards Runic Stun, I think. We lost a Synchro Zone to 1 now as well. Most people are only playing it at 1 or 2 anyways, but losing it to 1 is still pretty big. And that is it. So we've taken 8 cards out of Runic Stun, including a chunk of consistency cards. This particular version of this strategy is no longer viable. I'm just telling you, this version of Stun / Runic Stun is no longer playable. They're also losing a Kaiser Coliseum. 9 cards. I'm glad that they've gutted this. I still think it's going to be around because of the Fossil Dyna. So, if I bring that up, I still think Fossil Dyna is going to make like regular Stun decks kind of live still. They're going to need to start changing it up though, because for you to consistently get into either of these cards with 1 less duality and no Card of Demise, you're going to be struggling. You really are going to be struggling a lot. And I think a part of the new strategy is going to come down to Small World. I think people are going to be utilizing some hand traps and utilizing Small World. By the way, Royal playset, don't at me. People are going to be using Small World plus a set of hand traps, like a subset of hand traps, to make these cards searchable. I think that's how they're going to try to keep the strategy somewhat viable. But you're really fucking reaching. You're really reaching if that's the extent you need to go to. So I'm really happy with all the stun hits. It's still around, unfortunately. Inspector Border limited to 1, which is phenomenal, but not banned. So maybe we'll see. So it depends upon how relevant it is going forward, I suppose. But Runic Stun and Stun in general has just received a massive, massive hit. And there wasn't really a ton of other, like, fair decks or fun decks, if you will, that were using these cards, like, other than, I guess, Runic combo decks. But Runic combo decks have kind of fallen off since the Fountain hit to 1. So Fountain hit to 1 really sort of hurt the combo variants of Runic, sorry. So right now, the only versions you ever see are fucking these stun versions, right? Which no one likes. So less of that is good for everybody else. So I am okay with that. No fun deck is playing Card of the Maze. No fun deck is playing Duality. Flu getting another hit. Duality to 1. Fuck Flu, right? So there really is. It's very interesting that Flu keeps on catching flack for stun decks. And people keep saying they're hitting Flu. They're not. They're hitting stun. If your deck is getting hit as a consequence of stun getting hit, then your deck fucking sucks. I'm sorry, it just does. Fuck Floowandereeze, fuck stun, fuck Runic, get rid of that. So I'm really happy with all of those hits, I really am. Hits that I'm not so happy about. Right, and this is getting into the parts that I have a problem with. They gutted Kashtira. Fenrir to 1, first of all, which hurts a shitload of decks. Loads of decks like to play Fenrir as just like a throw-in sort of card. I think that's going to stop being the case. I think Fenrir's still a decent like one-off special summon, but the fact that it doesn't replace itself as advantage is going to be a huge problem to its splashability. So I really do think that decks that don't directly benefit from Fenrir are going to stop playing Fenrir, at least to some extent. You might see certain versions still playing the card, because it is still technically like an interruption. But losing that value is just massive. And losing this copy of Fenrir means that there's so many like 2-card combos in Kashtira that just no longer work. We're also losing 2 copies of Kashtira Birth. That's wild. Hitting Birth to 1 is a very interesting way of hurting Kashtira. I didn't expect that. I think it's again, if your objective was to hurt Kashtira, pure Kashtira, then I think this was a good way of doing it. The Fenrir to 1, I don't know. I don't really like that, if I'm being honest. I didn't see Kashtira really making waves and events. I didn't see Kashtira really like overly dominant in ranked, anything like that. I don't really think this deck was in need of such a significant hit, but they really they really went for it. I don't know if there's going to be like some new support coming out soon that's going to make Kashtira nuts or something, right? But they really hit it hard. Like the Burf and the Fenrir, like Burf and Fenrir was a 2-card combo because Fenrir could search for something, Burf get the normal summon up, blah blah blah. So like they took that 2-card combo and gutted it. So you've got 1 copy of each now. There's a lot of Kashtira variants that are also not gonna like that, like Punk Kashtira, which I think Punk Kashtira might legitimately be the way of playing Kashtira from here on out, and I will be revisiting that. That was a staple on our channel for a long time, and then it kind of fell off. Now we're gonna bring it back. I think Punk Kashtira might legitimately be one of the best ways of playing Kashtira right now, because it was really wanting to see the Unicorn over the Fenrir, and Unicorn's still legal and still like not what they're targeting for whatever reason. I don't know why they didn't target Unicorn instead of Fenrir, but whatever. And you would only ever really play like 1 Burf in that. You wouldn't really play Theosis and stuff. So I think like a lot of the Kashtira variants, while they're not gonna like Fenrir being hit to 1, they're not really gonna main the rest of the limits. So it may not be the biggest deal in the world to non-pure Kashtira players, but pure Kashtira players just had so many of their possible opening hands, of their possible 2-card combos, of their possible plays, just fucking gutted, man. Like, again, Burf and Ray's Heart was a pretty... It wasn't a great combo, but it made your hand playable, right? Because you could banish off of Heart, normal summoning it, and then re-summon off of Burf. Your Fenrir plus your Burf was another 2-card combo. Of course, your Field Spell and Burf was a 2-card combo. Well, not that you really needed it, because the Field Spell is 1-card combo. But you know what I mean? Like, there's so many options there that now are just inaccessible, or at the very least, significantly less likely to be drawn into. It was a hard hit. Hard hit on Kashtira. And so it's yet to be seen, though, if that deck is just going to vanish, or if it's just going to take a different form, right? Like, we might see an increase in Zodiac Kashtira, for example. Who knows? But either way, Kashtira, pure Kashtira is hurting. They're fucking leaking, they're bleeding. A lot of the Kashtira variants aren't going to main too much, but it's still not pretty. And getting into the next cards here, we've got Pearly, I believe, is next on our list. So, Pearly caught some fucking hands. Pearly caught hands, and I don't know if people are like treating this as severely as they need to. So Delicious to 1, and it was Pretty Memory to 2. Now that again doesn't seem like much, and to be fair, objectively speaking, it isn't much. But what the entire point of Pearly is the fact that any of their quick play spells and a discard is a 1-card combo, right? That is the whole point of the deck, right? So Delicious to 1 in particular is brutal, right? Because hitting it to 2 was already bad, right? And the reason hitting it to 2 was bad was because of My Friend Pearly. So the regular combo is you use one of your quick play spells, you summon out your Pearly Lee, it grabs you My Friend Pearly, and originally you just reveal 3 copies of Delicious, grab Delicious. That's your combo starter. Hitting it to 2 meant that now you only had a 66% chance of hitting this off of My Friend Pearly if you reveal 2 copies and a third card. Which again wasn't the worst thing in the world, because your third card is still going to be good because it's still a Pearly card. You still had a chance to summon Pearly to get digging, right? So you weren't completely out of the game, but you were much less likely to draw into your Delicious. And now with being hit to 2 is making it just so much harder to get into. Now My Friend Pearly is not a reliable way to get into this card at all, so that really reduces the number of sort of full combo routes you have to go into. I'm not a Pearly expert by any means, but even I know this shit's bad. That shit fucking hurts. Pearly be leaking, for real. Now the Pretty Memory to 2, I feel like Pretty Memory was just the quick play spell that they chose. I don't really think there's too big a difference between it and Happy Memory. And Sleepy Memory is better than the 2 of them in most circumstances because it's just drawing additional cards, but it's a UR, so they're going to be less likely to hit this over something else. So basically this was just their way of like taking one of their starters out, but the Delicious hits are the ones that hurt the most, for sure. So you've got 2 less 1-card starters and you got 1 less key card in regards to Pearly. So this deck's struggling, man. Pearly was, to be fair, one of the highest win rate decks in the actual Master Duel Master Ranked ladder. I think with a win rate of around 50, 4.8% thereabouts. I can't remember exactly, but that might have been it. So it was a good deck, don't get me wrong, even with the previous hits. So I do think it might have needed toned down just a little bit. And it's a very difficult deck for many people to get rid of. It's not a deck that's super popular among players. So I can understand why they wouldn't feel too remorseful about taking this down a couple pegs. And it does have more support coming out in the future. So that support will either A, be enough to catapult this deck back to relevancy, or B, it may encourage Master Duel to lift some of the restrictions that they've placed upon the deck, because not all of them are overly necessary. But yes, Pearly is kind of hurting right now. The only limit to one that we didn't talk about in any of these was Pot of Desires, and that's because Pot of Desires is in an interesting spot where there's not really any one deck that plays it to any like significant extent. I guess Sword Soul play it quite a bit, and Kashtira, some Kashtira players are playing it, so Desires to 1 is fine. I don't think any deck is going to be like broken up about this. But it's just one less consistency card available to certain decks. Again, there's a lot of like level 8 Axes decks, a lot of like Banishment, Grand Maju, a lot of fun things that aren't really going to like the fact that this card is being banned, but it's nothing that's so relevant or nothing that's so popular to the extent where I don't think Desires to 1 is causing any uproar at all. I think this is fine. It's a generic draw. It's a generic draw card. The other generic draws are at 1. Why not put Desires to 1? It just makes sense. It makes it a little bit more sacky, but you know, what are you going to do? So that's Part of Desires for you. Nothing really too significant going on with this card right now. And getting off of the negative cards, getting away from things being banned and restricted and things, we're going to talk about what's been unbanned, and oh boy, there's some fucking meat on these bones. We've got, so this is a list, that ignore most of this list, this is like a combination of cards as well as cards that are impacted by their unlimiting, but we have Dragon Rulers to 3. All of the Dragon Rulers. Now, of course, they're past their prime, right? Dragon Rulers, they were back in the day the definition of what Tier 0 meant. Now, times have moved on and they've been power crept quite significantly. However, all of the Dragon Lords, all of them are still really, really solid staple cards in their sort of respective attributes and strategies. So I do foresee all of these cards seeing play. In terms of building a dedicated Dragon Ruler deck, I don't know. We have all of the baby dragons, right? We have armed dragons. A couple of guys in our Discord, Toxic Chaos and the like, have been really messing around with armed dragon rulers, which has been a blast. You're going to see a lot of people playing around with some Tomahawk shenanigans. Are going to be pretty popular with the Dragon Rulers because we still have Tomahawk in Master Duel. Why is this card still legal? So yeah, we've got quite a lot going on, and the Dragon Rulers are going to open up a lot of doors for a lot of decks, and it's just going to be one more staple that you can include in your deck, depending upon your deck's attributes. So I do think this is really good. I think it's finally the Dragon Rulers are unbanned, and you know what? I think it's going to be totally fine. I don't think they're going to break the game. I do think they're going to see a healthy amount of play as supporting engines in certain strategies. I don't think they're going to become sort of central parts of any particular deck or strategy. I don't think they're going to like overly dominate any particular niche, but they are going to be nice little supporting tools for off attribute archetype decks. So that's nice to see. More importantly, what I think is going to be more relevant is the Teratop unbanning. Speedroid Teratop is a very powerful card. I mean, this is the origin of the term you drew your Taketomborg, right? They named an entire type of card after this combo, where the Teratop is basically, it's a free special summon, and then when special summoned, it will search your deck for another Speedroid. That's going to grab your Taketomborg, which will then special summon itself, basically just putting 2 level 3s on board for no reason. And there's a lot of decks that are going to be able to abuse the ever-living shit out of this. Any deck that plays a powerful Link 2, any deck that plays a generic powerful Link 2 is going to love this card. Any of them, right? This is pretty fucking nuts. Again, this is like instant verte. There's a whole load of things that this can do. Like, there's more than what I can list, but some of the examples of cards that we're going to be seeing more popular as a result of this is going to be our Invoker, the MX Saber Invoker, particularly in combination with Isolde. I think this card is going to become significantly more popular because of the Teratop, and the Invoker is fucking sick. There's a couple of decks that will really abuse this card. One of which is Zodiacs. Zodiacs are gonna love the Teratop. Teratop, of course, being able to go into your Invoker. Invoker then special summons any level 4 Earth Warrior or Beast Warrior from your deck in defense. That is instant Zodiac material right there. So Zodiacs are gonna fucking love that card. Phantom Knights are gonna love it in combination with their Soul Day plays, or even just as part of regular Phantom Knight plays. Phantom Knights are gonna love the Terratop, I'm pretty sure. So again, that is another thing. Zodiacs have been receiving a lot of support recently, so we also have Ratpier to 1, and we have Barrage Unlimited. So Zodiacs have been getting a lot of love lately, and I think Terratop is just going to be one more tool in their arsenal. So I think Zodiacs are going to be becoming better and better and better as time goes on here, which is good to see. Actually, the Zodiac Tier 0 meta happened before I even really got into competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! So it would be cool to see this deck return to some level of relevance. It really would. And then we have a couple of other sort of smaller unlimits. We have, of course, the Strategist to 3. Sword Soul's loving it. I don't know what we did to, like, get a card back. I don't know if, like, Konami's looking at Sword Soul like we're a lost cause. I've been fucking dominating with Sword Soul recently, but I'll take my Strategist back. I don't know why they're giving me it back, but I'll take it. Absolutely. And then we have Orpha Scorpio to Unlimited as well. Orpha Scorpio, I mean, interesting. I mean, Predaplants hasn't been super popular since the Instant Fusion ban. I think Instant Fusion being banned was a huge hit to the Predaplant strategy in terms of its power. I guess in certain decks, it means that you can sort of play that searchable Super Poly Predaplant engine. I kind of think like the Orpha Scorpion, Darlington, and Cobra is, I think it's kind of cringe. I don't think it's that good, but it searches Super Poly, and Super Poly's pretty broken, so maybe it is. You know, the combination of Orpha Scorpio summoning out then your Darlington Tonia Cobra. Cobra then searches for Polymerization or a Fusion Quick Play spell card. Or a Fusion spell card, sorry. So this makes like Branded Fusion, this makes anything like that more popular, which leads us very nicely onto our next point, right? So all of that Unlimited, all of that's fun stuff, great, all good. Why didn't they hit Branded? What is going on with Branded? They didn't touch it. In fact, they gave us another tool back. We can play the Orpha Scorpio here. We can play this card to search our deck for Branded Fusion or to search for Super Polymerization. Why? Why no Branded hits? Branded is nuts. I don't understand. Branded will continue. I believe Branded will continue to be the best deck in the game. It has been performing as the best deck in the game for a while, and with the beating that Kashtira, Pearly, and Dragonlink just took, I think it's not going to have any difficulty setting itself apart from the rest of the competition. I think Branded will be definitively the best deck in the game. I really do. But another card, or another deck I should say, not impacted by the ban list that's going to see a lot more play is Mathmech. I just made a video on this deck yesterday without even knowing that the ban list was going to be coming up. And this deck didn't get any hits on the ban list, and the fact that Dragonlink has been hit means that Bystials are going to be much fewer and further between. And Branded does play Bystials, so it's not as if they'll be gone. However, that's one less large deck type that's going to be playing them. So Mathmech are going to be seeing a pretty decent surge in popularity because they are one of the more powerful deck types on the tier list. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Mathmech becoming even more viable purely because its counters are getting weakened, right? Dragonlink is getting weaker. Pearly is getting weaker. Not Branded, but Kashtira is getting weaker. All of these decks that it doesn't like, or its direct competition, have all been taken down. So that means Mathmech is going to be getting even better than what it already is. So keep an eye out for Mathmech. Mathmech's going to be fucking killing it. And some of the other decks that are like unaffected that are going to be super powerful. The first one that springs to mind is Sword Soul, which of course we've sort of already talked about with the Strategist hits. Sword Soul is a decently viable deck. It's definitely going to be more powerful now because it's not receiving any direct hits off the ban list. You could argue that like getting Desires limited kind of sucks, but I mean, we'll be fine. I don't even play Desires. I think Desires is cringe as hell in Sword Soul, but again, it's something that's going to be played a lot, and I think Sword Soul is going to be more powerful now than it has been in a while. But yeah, overall, I'm loving it. I think this ban list is really good, and that's my overall sort of views on the ban list. I think the hits were good. I think a lot of the limits were good. I think the banned cards, I hate to see Chaos Ruler go, but it needed to go. So I think like all the forbidden cards were good. Yeah, honestly, super impressed. Well done, Konami. I'm shocked you missed Branded though. I don't know what that's about. I kind of surprised you didn't hit Mathmech either to an extent. Vanquish Soul kind of got like hit a little bit. They got hit by like the Kashtira and the Tikaboo and whatever. Then They hit most of the top tier decks, so it's hard to be mad at it. No Labyrinth hits either. Now that I think about it, I didn't even think about Labyrinth. Labyrinth didn't get any hits either. Let's keep an eye out for Lab. Lab, Mathmech, and Branded, I think, are going to be three of the big decks here in the immediate future. I really do. But again, I can sit here and ramble about this sort of stuff all day. I will not subject you to that. What we'll do instead is we'll just wait. We'll see what's going on. We'll see if a lot of these up-and-coming decks, as well as maybe other ones that haven't been too much in the eye of the metagame, Zodiac, Ricka, Manadium, all of these other decks that have been sort of fringe, rogue, sort of tier list compatible. And let's see if those decks can pick up some of the slack that's going to be created by the top dogs getting hit pretty fucking hard. So that's everything I have to say. Subscribe if you're new or if you're interested in this style of content or anything else that we do on the channel, of course, be it our deck profiles, be it our live streams, whatever it is that you fancy. And you can like this video if you want to see more Banlist reviews in this style rather than our old style where we did it pretty quickly. But I'll leave that up to you guys. You're the guys who are watching it. So yeah, that's everything I've got to say. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.